Today's guest has one of the most unique stories in stand-up comedy today. Stick around for episode number 10 of The Bar Gig Files.
3, 2, 1, fire.
At 6'7", this former college athlete from South Dakota has built a national comedy career through bars, festivals, and relentless road work. He's known for his sharp one-liners, Midwestern storytelling, and even completed a bicycle comedy tour across South Dakota. Let's have a virtual round of applause for Pub and Grub Comedy Tour, Bar Comedy USA superstar, Skyler Bolks, everybody.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, there he is. There's your round of applause. Hey, buddy. I think, we've been working together for so long. We haven't really had very many face-to-face conversations, have we?
I don't think we've ever had any. We've had a handful of conversations on the phone, and that's about as far as it went.
Yeah. So this is really cool. I'm glad you could do this. Thanks for being on, man. And Skyler's you're one of the Pub and Grub Comedy Tour originals. Like you've been doing this doing these bar gigs with us with Bar Comedy USA for a long time now, and always get great reviews. So I appreciate you being on, and I like Skyler too because he's from the Midwest, just like I am.
Yeah, buddy. South Dakota. You're an Iowa guy, right?
Is there a difference that you've noticed in? I'm an Iowa guy originally. That's right. At 6'7", we always put on the promo flyers. Probably one of the tallest comedians you've ever seen, and I got to imagine that before anyone even hears your first joke, they've probably already formed an opinion.
Yep, they've probably already
What
actually.
are some of the wildest? Yeah, are there any wild assumptions that people make about you?
Yeah, I think we've got a little bit of a delay here, but yeah, there's before the show even starts, a lot of times people have already come up to me and they've asked, they don't believe that I'm that tall. They've got to ask questions about all kinds of wild stuff. And the weirder the bar, the drunker they are. So Wisconsin, I get some pretty wild questions, some pretty outlandish things that not necessarily G-rated questions that I get from some sweet old ladies sometimes even.
Really, like how do you fit together with your girlfriend, or like how,
yeah, there's
like
plenty
the
of those.
logistics involved. Yeah. I assume you played basketball?
I did. Yep.
Okay, cool. Who did you play for?
Well, I played in high school and all that, and then I played at a smaller college in Yankton, South Dakota.
All right. I've got a theory that I've talked to a few other comedians about, that some of the best comedians actually come from either high school or college sports backgrounds. And the reason why I have that theory is because if you are operating at a high level in high school or college sports, there's a lot, like you've got to be able to push through. You probably are getting your balls busted quite a bit by, even if it's just your coach yelling at you. And that type of experience helps develop the thick skin that you need for stand-up comedy. Is that something you would agree with?
Yeah, and there's a little bit, to be a comic, you have to have some sort of tenacity. You do have to have that ability to push through. And there is a lot of hard work, and you kind of can end up in some kind of uncomfortable situations, not only on stage, but sometimes all the travel involved. That's another thing that's kind of a good crossover from like athletics to comedy, is that you have to go to the place to go play the other team, and that's what comedy's like too. You have to go. You're not playing on the home field very often, actually, in comedy. So you're usually out on the road. So I kind of had a little bit of a comfort with being on the road like that, sleeping in the back of buses and whatever needed to be done in order to get there and get the job done.
Yeah, that's something I hadn't even thought of, is that the travel to the away games, and sometimes that's several hours away. That's also very similar to stand-up comedy. Like you've still got to go through all that travel and then have the energy in order to bring your A game that night.
Yep.
That's something I hadn't even thought of. Yeah. So when you're out on the road and you're on a long drive to get to the gig, are you downing coffee or energy drinks?
Too much of probably both. It depends on what's available. I like a good coffee. Like I like
Okay.
a good latte. I like to try stuff along the way on the road. And I have my theories about places. Like there are certain places, if the right kind of decor, the right kind of name, like there are some places you can tell from the outside that they've got a good cup of coffee. But a lot of times, we're going out to the small town Wisconsin. You're probably not going to pass a Starbucks on the way out there. So your best bet is going to be maybe an energy drink. You can get a coffee drink at the Quick Trip or whatever.
Yeah.
But you got to
Yeah.
kind of go
Love
with what's
loves truck stop.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Love a
Yeah.
truck stop.
Yeah, and you've performed in how many states now so far across the country?
37. 37. We're working on
37.
rounding out
Okay.
those last couple. Baker's dozen
Yeah.
left.
Those last 13.
Yeah.
Yeah, the baker's dozen is left. Are is of those states that are left, which one do you definitely want to get to?
Maine. I'm really excited about Maine. Most of the states are actually north of New York, New Jersey, up in the New England area, but
Yeah.
Maine just kind of is really intriguing to me because it's kind of this. From what I've heard, it's kind of a Texas of the North, but it's like kind of got a Canadian flavor and crab. I like crab, so all of this sounds great to me.
Yeah, yeah. I've done a few shows in Maine. It's beautiful country up there, and I've not heard that analogy before, that it's the Texas of the North, but now that I'm thinking about it, that actually probably is a pretty good description, just with a different accent.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. They talk more like Canadians.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. What's one thing that you've noticed that all these small town audiences have in common no matter where you go?
That's kind of tough because people are people, right? People like funny, and
Yeah.
you can go to one town, and a lot of them you can get away with a little bit of dirtier stuff. Like I can pivot into a completely clean show, uh, but it's that part I guess doesn't really cross over because every once in a while Dolores from the church group is there or whatever to make sure nobody's laughing at dirty jokes, and then people all kind of check with her because she's gonna say something about it on Sunday or something. I don't know, but I've had a couple of shows like that. But honestly, people are just there to have fun. For the most part, they don't want religion or politics in the humor. They just want to have a good time. They want to get away from
Yeah.
all the things that are happening in the world. And in these smaller towns too, a lot of times these are like really hardworking people with like pretty tough physical jobs. So there's a lot of farmers and stuff like that. So they just want a night to get away. The smaller towns drink more than the cities typically. So that's the one big thing that they have in common. And I got a lot of jokes about drinking, so we connect on that level. But for the most part, I think everybody, they just want to get away from their daily life. They want to get away from the things on the news. They just want to have a little fun, sit back, relax, and have a laugh.
Yeah. That's right. It's an escape mechanism. And we're bombarded with that stuff every day, all day on the news and on social media. And I think that people do want to go out for a night of entertainment to escape all that stuff. So that's a good philosophy that you bring. It's just give them a fun time. That's all they want.
Yeah, that's what I think. That's how I look at comedy. A lot of
Uh,
people say comedy has
you
to
say
have
you can
this.
adapt and if it's a clean. Is
Yeah, go on. Sorry.
no, continue. We are on a bit of a delay. I want to hear what you have to say.
Oh yeah, now I forgot where I was going with that. Oh no, how I look at comedy. We're kind of the coach of the fun team. Like we're here to bring you guys a good time. I don't want to drag you guys down into thinking about something that's sad or dark or whatever. Like I just want it to be a good time for you to get away. And I don't feel like a lot of people think you have to speak truth to power. You have to do this. You have to do that. You have to have a message. And I do have a message, a couple of different messages that I like to push in my show. They're kind of subtle. It's kind of underneath the top layer. But the number one thing is just be funny. They want to go there. They want to laugh. And so if you can't make them laugh, you're doing something wrong because they wanted that outcome. And I think that should always be the number one thing. Just be funny first and figure out things along the way. If you really want to have a message and you can make it funny, sure, but it has to be funny first.
It has to be funny first, absolutely. And a lot of times the message really could even be something lighthearted, like just always have fun. No matter
Yeah.
who you are, where you come from, what your religion is, what your politics are, we all just want to go out and have a good time. And that's how you can actually unite people just with laughter and having fun. They could be on any side of the political aisle or whatever, but when they're in that comedy crowd, they should be unified with laughter.
Yeah. And one of my messages in the show is I encourage people to be organ donors, and that's packaged into probably the most absurd joke that I do, but it's a fun light that's easy. It helps people and we move on from it pretty quick. So,
Yeah, yeah, I like that. I like that. And then coming from your athletic background, what would you say is more addictive, getting laughs or winning games?
laughs. No question, laughs.
Yeah. No question about it, laughs.
Yep.
Uh,
It's a solo
yeah.
activity,
And, also, your
I
style is
played a
built
team
around
sport.
one-liners.
So like, yeah, because there's a lot of team sports, it's the more individual.
Yeah.
And it's immediate and repeatable, where you can get a laugh and you can get another laugh. If you win a game, that feels good for a bit, and then it's a week until your next game.
Yeah, right. And so if you get a laugh and then you just get another quick fix and you do that
Yep.
3 or 400 times over the course of an hour. Uh-huh. Yeah. I like that. One-liners and storytelling. That's a unique style where you combine those two. You don't see that very much. Either a comedian will be a one-liner comedian or they'll be a storyteller. You do both. Which comes easier?
It took a while to kind of develop a better writing process for the stories, to punch up the stories and get the jokes built in. A lot of times, people tell a story and it's a long space between the funny parts or whatever. So it took a while to kind of figure out how to tighten that up. The one-liner jokes have always been kind of like quick and easy for me in some situations. Sometimes you do have to sit down and actually work on writing a good joke, but the stories come a little bit more naturally. I just had to develop the strategies to actually punch up the story and keep it interesting enough for stand up. The one-liners are usually kind of a fun little thing. Like I'll open the show with some just silly one-liners. we'll do some stories, and then I might jump into a couple more one-liners. Some of the stories just end it. The whole story was written to get to a really dumb one-liner that I thought would be fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I've developed a similar style myself where if you can get good at the one-liners, then when you go to write your story and you're working on your storytelling, really the story is just a whole series of cohesive one-liners that sort of go together
Yeah,
and
it's
follow
a
a
vehicle.
narrative flow.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
It also, I feel like
'Cause this is some
the practice of writing headline or one-liners, it helps you to tighten up those stories too, because you start to get used to
right.
this like setup punchline, and you get a laugh, you get a tag, set up punchline, laugh, tag, like, and you get used to that kind of rhythm. And when you're going into a story and things are getting a little too long, it starts to feel really uncomfortable, and you want to get back into that rhythm of these regular laughs.
Right. Yeah, I think sometimes that's something comedians miss is they're telling all the details of the story in order to get to like some grand punchline at the end. But a theory that I have is the longer the setup is, or the longer the story is, the funnier that punchline better be.
Right. Definitely
Yeah,
agree.
you got to keep it quick. A couple years ago, I was really impressed with this idea when you combined cycling with comedy on your Jokes and Spokes tour. At what point did you come up with this? I'm just imagining, sitting around thinking that what this comedy career needs? You know what a challenge that I really need for comedy? 1,000-mile bicycle ride.
Yeah. Not
Yeah.
maybe not my best decision. I'll say that. But so I actually, funny enough, I got into riding a bike in college in South Dakota. They changed the law. The DUI chapter now says at the top of the chapter, this chapter no longer applies to foot pedal or animal conveyance. So you can't get a DUI in South Dakota on a bicycle, and you can't get a DUI in South Dakota on a horse anymore. So I was in college in a small town, and I thought, what the hell? The bars are 2 miles away. It's a bit of a long walk. I can get on a bike and be there in 5-10 minutes, and I can ride back up to the dorms. And that's kind of what really, I mean, I loved riding a bike as a kid and stuff, but that's what got me into these longer rides. One of my friends was like, you can't ride all the way to the next town over. The next town over was like 13 miles. So I just did it on the lunch break. And I kind of been into bikes on a little more of a casual level ever since. And a couple of years back, I trained up to ride Ragbri. There's a big ride across Iowa. There's 20 or 30,000 people that do this ride. It's a big, crazy, it was an incredible experience. But as I'm going across Iowa, I'm stopping in these towns and I'm looking at these venues. I'm like, I've done a show in that venue. And later that same day, I've done a show in this venue, and the next day, and the next day. And I kept seeing these, and I'm like, there's no reason why I can't. Like, I could have been doing shows this whole week, riding across Iowa. So I just decided to throw it together. I was like, let's go for it. So I did one last year. I did one this year as well. Last year I went north and south across South Dakota, stayed on the east end of the state. This year I left my front door in Sioux Falls and I rode all the way out to Rapid City. So I did Pierre and Mitchell and Pierre and Hill City and Rapid City, Alliance, Nebraska, and Gering, Nebraska, all on this big. I did it. It was another 1,000-mile bike tour, and I climbed more than Mount Everest. Like, it was a crazy, incredible experience. But it is absolutely insane to look at comedy and go, you know what this needs is more travel time. Yeah. I don't spend enough time on the road. I need to do more of that.
Yeah, but yeah, I need to get as sweaty as possible on my way to the show.
Yeah, and then take a shower in a crappy campground shower house, if you're lucky. There's a
Yeah.
couple of shows I poked a hole in the top of a water bottle and soaped up behind a camper cabin to get cleaned up before doing the show.
Oh yeah, that's like an old school Survivor Man trick where you fill
Yep.
the water bottle and then you hang it from a tree branch or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I just did her squeeze style. And
Yeah.
I wish I could say I've never had to do that when traveling to a show in a car, but I have. So
Yeah. Uh,
there's there's been
and
a
that's
few
the
where travel,
dedication.
yeah, there's been a few just like travel falls through. There's not a truck stop nearby enough to catch a shower at the truck stop. The hotel's another 40 miles away after the show, whatever it might be. You end up getting yourself into some weird situations being out on the road like this.
Yeah, I mean, along on one of those bike rides, did it ever cross your mind? I mean, it had to, where you're like, shit, I don't think I'm going to be able to make this.
Yeah. That actually this year, the first ride out to Mitchell, there was a storm that was supposed to come through in the afternoon, and the weather was supposed to be kind of clear up until it came through. And then the storm actually moved in earlier. And by the time I woke up, the storm was already like happening in town. So I decided to kind of wait it out. Well, on the back end of the storm, there was like 20 to 30 mile an hour headwinds. And so I was fighting headwinds like that for 75 miles all the way out to Mitchell. And I actually walked into the theater, leaned my bike against the wall, grabbed a Dr. Pepper, went in the green room, put on my jeans, and went on stage to introduce, because I did a little intro of the show. I didn't have to do my set right up front, but I did a
Yeah.
little intro for the show, brought up the feature act, and then I got to go back and relax for a little bit. But that was one I did off a full bike ride without the shower. So if you bought
Without
merch
the
from me
shower.
in Mitchell, thank you so much for dealing with my smell by the merch table.
Yeah. You got a t-shirt and some body odor.
Yep. Little koozie with some
Yeah.
funk on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Whenever I'm in a situation like that, where it might have been a little bit stressful getting into the gig, oftentimes I'll find that winds up being one of my best sets. Would you experience something similar to that when you go through stress to get to the show and then you get up there, you make it, it's like all that relief. It's just like it just something brings out the best in you.
Yeah, I feel like when I was opening shows, it was a little bit more of a mixed bag. Because then you go up and you still have that nervous energy, and maybe
Yeah.
like sometimes that can help a little bit, but maybe it takes a little while for you to break into the crowd. Like sometimes the crowds aren't really ready to go right from the rip. You got to kind of get them used to loosened up and used to laughing and stuff. And then those shows, it just kind of puts you in even more of a frantic mind state for the rest of the night. But then that show in Mitchell was actually a really incredible show. So a lot of times, if I have just enough time to kind of sit down, if I have like 5 to 10 minutes at least, if I can sit down, calm down, have a drink, and then get back up there and get after it, it does do something to you. There's something about a survival mindset, being in that fight or flight. You can hop right back into the show, and you kind of feel like you're fighting for your life when you're trying to make them laugh, and if you don't, you really will die. Not just in the figurative sense.
Yeah, you really will die. Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I like that. Skyler Bolks, he's on the cover of the latest edition of America's Best Bar Comics, Volume 2. Volume 3 is going to be coming out this fall. I wanted to put you on the cover. You've been so dedicated going across the country. I mean, obviously you're dedicated. You get on a bicycle and you will ride hundreds of miles just to get to the gig. I absolutely love that, dude. I think that is so cool. What would you say, in your experience, makes performing in a neighborhood bar different, other than the extra drinking? What would you say is the biggest difference between performing in the neighborhood restaurant, tavern, neighborhood bar as opposed to a traditional sanctioned comedy club?
I feel like, well, so a lot of comedy clubs are in bigger cities generally, and a lot of times in bigger cities, there's an amount of pandering that goes on from a lot of times from the comedians, especially from the comedians that live in that city. You kind of know what people believe and expect, like politically or whatever, and so it's a lot of like local references, or you're really pandering to the bigger crowd or whatever, and that's not always going to fly in the small town, because even in a small town, no matter what you think of what their politics or religion or whatever might be, you can definitely be wrong. I've been in places that you would think would be the most conservative place in the world, and it's actually surprisingly liberal, and vice versa. And so you just have to kind of just stick to being funny. You can't kind of play that edge where you're trying to, like, it's the clapter. It is what I've heard it called.
Yeah.
So, you tell people what you believe, and then they have to clap for you, and that kind of breaks you into the show. And I don't like any of that. I'm just going to start out by being as funny as possible. I'm going to start out with some silly one-liners so that we can have some fun. And I don't do anything that much different. In a bigger comedy club, I might just really rip, like, just start hitting the punchlines and cut out as much fat as possible. In the smaller towns, I kind of want it to be a little more conversational, where I want them to get to know me a little bit, and I want to get to know them a little bit, to make it a little more of a personal show.
Yeah, you make a better connection. You make it more conversational because they all know each other in those small town bars. And the
Right.
big city comedy clubs, it's going to be more of a mixed bag of strangers. And yeah, that's a smart strategy, where just make the connection because when you're in the small town bar, you're in their clubhouse. And so if
Exactly.
you want to get up there and deliver like a one-man show monologue, they will tune out. You got to bring them in and make it like a conversation, like you just said. That's great. Yeah. Yeah.
And the fact that they all
Well,
know each other, they're a little more likely to kind
yeah.
of jump in and rib you back a little bit. And so you got to be ready. You got to be ready to fire back off with those kind of things. And I think that's a little bit of fun, honestly, especially starting working shows with you guys in like Wisconsin was notorious for that.
That's right. And you're hitting, you're being relatable, especially in those small town bars. They all know each other, and you could be talking about something that's just some basic everyday life stuff that might frustrate you, but everybody in that town will know the story of Fred who'd had a similar situation. They'll all start pointing at him, and you're like,
Yep.
whoa, what the hell? Like, and so then you got to kind of play with that, because if you just roll over and ignore it, they're gonna feel ignored, and then they tune out.
Yep. They want to be seen.
They want to be seen. Well, I love it, man. Thanks for taking the time to do this. Go to SkylerBolks.com. Check out his website. Go to barcomictix.com. You can see where Skyler's going to be headlining the Pub and Grub comedy tour coming up soon. And what about your social media? Anything you want them to check out there with jokes and spokes or anything else?
Yeah, you can search Jokes and Spokes. All my social media is at Skyler Bolks, Skyler. Don't spell it AR. I've got a lifelong feud with a Skylar who stole my name from my mom in Le Mans class. So that's a whole nother story. You can go to my social media. Maybe I'll tell that story someday on there. But everything's at Skyler Bolks.
All right. And if you want to check out Skyler's page in America's Best Bar Comics, you can grab that off of Amazon. I appreciate, buddy. Thanks for doing this today.
Thanks so much for having me, man.
Yeah. Let's hear it for Skyler, everybody. Virtual round of applause. All right, buddy. We'll see you soon down the line.
Right on. Thanks, man. Have a good one.